Right, so the first question I want to ask you is, how do I get arms like yours?
Onto where?
How do I get arms like yours?
Do you know what? It's funny in CrossFit you don't even train for anything like that, but
Yeah.
like it just happens overnight.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm getting there slowly,
Yeah.
but I used to swim, so I've always had like fairly big shoulders, but my arms just aren't like anything like yours. So how did you get into CrossFit? When did it start?
Um, got into CrossFit in like when I was 19, so I'm 25 now, so however long that is, 6 years or something.
Yeah.
Um, and I got into it just from wanting to try. Like I just wanted to try CrossFit. Everyone was raving about like at the time all this CrossFit stuff, and
Yeah.
at the time I was doing athletics, and I was out of training because I had a stress fracture in my foot, so I was
I know.
constantly looking to do some sort of training anyway. So I was just like, this is a
Yeah.
perfect time to try something new. And then yeah, I just went to a class, and then that was that really. And then from there, I fell into like weightlifting, and now I've kind of been full time in CrossFit for the last 2 years. So
And then when you started, which part did you find easiest? Because a lot of people tend to like pick up the weightlifting quicker, or so some people it's the endurance or gymnastics. Did you find that the skills came quite naturally for you?
yeah, the skills were the kipping movements and that were I picked up pretty quickly, because gymnastics is a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and again, like the strict gymnastics and stuff was there from gymnastics. The hardest thing to pick up was the fitness.
Really?
Yeah, because the gymnastics is it's just a power sport,
Mm.
and um, yeah, like when people say like building strength is the hardest part, I question it because like I was naturally strong, but building fitness is definitely hard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I remember I started CrossFit in 2018 when I was at uni and I was in my first year. And whenever there was 400-meter run in the workout, I just wouldn't go. So
Yeah.
there was literally in like every week. So I quit after my first month. And then in lockdown, I started watching the documentaries again, you know, like the fittest on earth ones. And then
Yeah.
I was like, right, I need to do it because it's just an unreal sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's like just the kipping stuff. I find it so hard, so it takes time. But it's good that you picked it up straight away.
Yeah. I wouldn't say straight away, but it was definitely more natural to me than
Yeah,
like running 5K.
yeah. When did you realise you were like good at it and wanted to compete?
um I think the coaches in the first gym I went to was CrossFit SA1 back in Swansea, and Lee Bevan, who at the time was a regional athlete, and
Yeah,
he coached at the gym, and I think straight away he's seen like you need to like do this more often, or
yeah,
like compete or something, because you're really strong, and you could see something in me. And I was young at the time, and I was just like, oh, I'll just like do whatever. And then I remember we were doing, it was like a front squat as part of the class, and I maybe squatted like a couple of times through like my athletics career, as part of like the gym sessions and stuff, but it was nothing crazy. And I remember it was like building up, and I hit 100 kilo front squat,
Taylor, that was mental.
and he was just like, he couldn't believe what was going on. He was just like, and then from there, I got scouted for weightlifting because they were
Right,
linked to like a weightlifting room. So it was like half CrossFit, half weightlifting, and it was run by
yeah,
Welsh Weightlifting. So the coaches in there kind of picked up on that. And then I was like kind of going between the both for a while.
mhm,
And then that's when I kind of had a plan to kind of go into the development squad with Wales, and then it led to going to the Commonwealth Games. So it was kind of like, yeah, I found my strength in CrossFit kind of
yeah,
thing to be able to go into weightlifting.
yeah.
So Yeah.
So in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games, how many sessions of weightlifting were you doing? And were you still doing CrossFit at the time, or did you have to bring that down?
Yeah, no, I still like competed to have fun.
Yeah.
Like I went to French Showdown, but I was just like, my name was nowhere to be seen. It was like, I was just there.
Yeah.
So I would still I would always like to sweat. I would never just do weightlifting, and
Mm.
in the end that's why I've got dropped from weightlifting by Wales, because they're so against CrossFit and they couldn't understand why
Yeah.
I wanted to do both, because you won't develop, and that's totally wrong, because some of the best weightlifters are CrossFitters, right?
No, I mean, look at the women's champ at the moment.
I know.
I mean, she's a weightlifter.
Yeah.
So, so, but that's just mind blowing to me, because now, from when I look at your numbers, you're hitting more than you did when you went to Commonwealth Games for weightlifting, right?
Yeah, so my numbers are around, they're around about the same. I haven't PB'd my lifts in years, but my numbers are always up there in CrossFit, which
Yeah.
is all I need. Like, I don't need to be stronger right now.
Okay.
It's cool if you PB a lift or whatever, but it's not something that I need to work on, so I'm not really bothered about it.
Well, you won the lift at Wadapalooza quite convincingly.
Yeah. And again, like, people have asked me about this, and obviously I was happy, like, it's a cool moment, but it's not as, I wouldn't have been as happy as if I had won a swim event, or if I had won like something with thrusters and chest to bar.
Yeah.
Simply because I don't train weightlifting. Like, I'll have a couple of weightlifting sessions a week, and I'm just lucky to have that strength.
Yeah, and I guess it's more rewarding when you put in loads of time and effort
Yeah.
into your gymnastics or your endurance, and then you see that pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then how did the relationship with JST start? So you were training in Wales, and then did you start online programming with them, or?
Do you know, like, through weightlifting and that, I kind of always did my own thing. I always trained on my own. I had a home
Yeah.
gym. Like, I wasn't the type for, like, going into group sessions. I just did my work on my own every single day. And that's how, like, my CrossFit started again, was by training on my own. Like, I never trained with anybody. And then I was, like, battling between, like, CrossFit and weightlifting towards the end of weightlifting career, and then I was like, right, I'm going to give CrossFit like another little go and see where I'm at. And I entered Sid when Sid was the first one in London,
Yeah.
when it was the first sanctional event, and I didn't have a coach. I was just doing my own thing, and I was in the top 10 all weekend, and I finished 10th, and I was like, oh, hang on, like, the girls I've just competed against are the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not too bad at this CrossFit thing, like, after all. And then I remember seeing Steve, and he was coaching a couple of the girls there. And I remember all weekend I was saying, I'm going to approach Steve and ask him if he can be my coach. And
Yeah.
and I waited until the last event was done. And I remember I walked up to in the warm-up area, and I, like, tapped him on the back of the shoulder, and he was just like looking. And he was just like, yeah. And I was just like, can I have a chat with you, please? And he was just like, yeah. And then I just asked him, I was just like, would you be keen in having a chat with me potentially about coming on board with you? And then he was just like, yeah. And the next day we had a phone call, and it just went from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's been my coach ever since, and then ended up moving to Wigan, and then the rest is history, really.
When you started with him after Sid, what was your goal? Like, what did you want to get out of that coaching with him?
I was still, my plan was still weightlifting and CrossFit, but I wanted to do both, and it wasn't long until I found out that I couldn't do both at the high level.
Yeah.
So I still went to I got picked for GB, so I went and did a competition out in, I think it was Poland, with GB, and then I came back This was after the Commonwealth Games. And then I was like, right, I can still kind of do both. And then, it just didn't, it didn't take long for me to realise that that wasn't the case. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was standing in the queue in Universal in America for the ride Tower of Terror, and I had an email through and it said, "You've been selected to compete for GB again, in the Europeans in Russia, I think it was. I don't know, it was somewhere random." And I knew straight away, like my gut was telling me, I was just like, I'm not accepting it. Like I knew there and then, and I think it was that point I was just like, I'm ready to give everything into CrossFit and see what I can actually achieve from it.
Yeah.
And I declined it, and I was just like, I'm gonna go all in on CrossFit, and see where it takes me.
I mean, from what you said, it seems like you've got a natural ability with weightlifting, so that's always going to be there. So it makes sense just to go all in with CrossFit, see how far you can get, and then if you want to, go back to weightlifting. Although I did see on your Instagram that you posted that a comeback for weightlifting might be
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. It will be. I think I'm gonna compete this year. At some point, I think I will go and do like a run out on the platform, because I truly love competing for weightlifting. Like, it's no feeling like it, and I think that's why, like, the event at Wadapalooza with the barbell, like, it's just natural to me. Like, I just know what to do when the barbell's in front of me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. My plan was to do the Commonwealth Games this year. After the last Commonwealth Games, my plan was always to go and try and podium this time around 4 years later. And when I made that decision to not do that, it was tough. But like, I think this is why this year means probably a lot more to me, because if I make the CrossFit Games, then it's kind of like, I know I made the right decision, and I sacrificed my weightlifting career to do this. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, so you did well in the quarterfinals. You're now going to the semis. In Europe, we have two, right? So, and I think one of them is going to be in London. Do you know where you're going yet, or do you get a choice?
We have no idea. No idea. I mean, it's
What are
CrossFit,
you
so anything
hoping?
can happen. Like, they change things all the time. So I'm prepared for both, and I'm not
Yeah.
really. Obviously, it would be very cool to do it on your home soil. But again, it's no big deal if you have to go to Holland. So
Yeah. So when did you move up to Wigan to go with JST?
so January last year. So January. Oh, so January 2021. It was random. It was so random. It was like, Steve, I want to come up and do a training camp for a month, and I'm going to drag Reggie with me, and he's going to leave his job with his dad, and we're just going to like come for a month. And he was just like, right, okay, that's definitely what you need, because you're nowhere near the fitness you need to be right now. And this was a month out for the season.
Yeah.
Because we did a workout with Jack and Steve the month before that, and they beat us on a burpee workout, like hammered us, and we were just like, fucking hell, we need to get fit.
Yeah.
So we were like, right, we're gonna come up for the month in January and just have a training camp with just you. And then he was like, sound, right, let's do it. So me and Reg got an Airbnb in Liverpool, which is like 40 minutes away from Wigan. And then halfway through January we went into lockdown.
Yeah.
So we had nowhere to train. So we was training at Steve's house in his garage gym.
Yeah.
And it just took off from there. Like, we got so fit. Reg won quarterfinals. I came, I think it was 6th place, and it was so overwhelming to the point where, like, I couldn't take the pressure of it, because I didn't quite understand how it happened. And then we went home, came back for series, and then we ended up moving up officially in April. We signed for a house in Wigan for a year in April.
Yeah.
So we've been here a year, like officially been here a year next month, which is mad. But that's how it all started, really. It was just because we just needed coaching on hand.
Yeah, I remember it was in the lockdown and I kept seeing these like gnarly YouTube videos pop up from JST, and it was just in Steve's garage.
Yeah,
There was just like loud music on. It just looked so tough.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Then
was it was that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, so you did the 2021 Open. You did really well in the snatch burpee box over workout, and so did Reggie. And then going into quarterfinals and then semi-finals, was the goal to get to the games that year?
To be honest, no, it wasn't.
Mm,
Um, it became a goal when we realised it was a possibility or a
mm,
high chance of being able to get to achieve that.
yeah.
It was we weren't fit. We weren't fit going into January. We
Mm,
didn't even know if he was going to qualify for semi-finals, and
yeah.
then we got really, really fit, really, really quick. Simply because of the training we were doing all day, every day, and then because we was in lockdown, we had nothing else to do,
Mm,
and then we did the Open, did well, and then quarterfinals came around, and I don't even know how our performances happened. To be honest with you, it was just a very relaxed
mm,
situation. It was nice that we got to do it like in a gym, and everything was like a tight knit group,
yeah.
and everyone was there who you wanted to be there,
Mm,
and it just flowed and it went really, really well. We performed really, really well, and then it was like, oh, hang on a minute, you can, if you get this performance again in 8 weeks' time, like, you go into the games.
yeah.
And everything got blown out of proportion a little bit. Like, the pressure was on us. We started getting drug tested by CrossFit, and like podcasts with like, it was just like new names at the top of the leaderboard. They were like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Um, and it was just like they were releasing stuff of like, it was just mad. It was just, thinking back, it was just so overwhelming.
Mm,
Um, without knowing it, there was a lot of pressure, but a lot of internal pressure as well.
yeah.
And I believed that I could do it. I think more over the fact that it was like, I don't know, facts out there that I could, rather than believing in
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And that's when it all went wrong. To be fair,
Did you have
um,
sponsors at the time last year?
pardon?
Did you have any sponsors at the time?
Yeah, I was with Fit Aid at the time. I was still with Reebok and Wade. But now I'm with Notco. I'm still with Reebok, and I'm with, oh my god, I can never remember, Foodspring. I can never remember why I was so bad. So yeah, the Reebok's the same. A couple have changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all very supportive, so that's good.
Yeah, so it started off just you and Reggie up in Wigan, and then when did all the other groups come up? Because now it seems like you've got a massive squad with JST at the High
Yeah,
Performance Centre.
yeah. It's crazy how everything has kind of happened, because it was just me, Reg and Steve, in a mouldy gym at the back of his garden, and now it's like we're in the best facility
Yeah,
any athlete could want,
yeah,
like with a 400-meter track, indoor track, a warm gym,
yeah,
sponsored by Elico, like toilets.
yeah,
It's just mad. And then we yeah, again, I don't know how everything has fallen into place. To be fair, we did semi-finals at a gym in Wigan, and I think everybody learnt a lot from that,
mhm,
including JST. Um, I think once we'd done well at quarterfinals, it was this thing where everybody wanted to jump on board, kind of like, oh, what are they doing?
yeah. It's like, you know how Matt Fraser retired, released his program now, and then when like Justin Medeiros will release his, that will be the next big thing. But I
Yeah,
really think that what JST has done is really impressive. And you've
yeah,
got so many people on board now. The team did well at Wadapalooza.
yeah,
You've got a good mix. You've got some youngins there as well.
yeah, yeah. It's so our group is amazing. Like, it's so good, but I think it's taken a long time for that to happen,
Yeah.
and maybe it's not quite right yet. Like,
Mhm.
but it's certainly getting there.
So how do the sessions work? Like, do you train at different, like, do you have different groups that will train in the morning, or are you all sort of in there together?
Yeah, no. So leading into the season, it was like me and Reg would go in and do our conditioning session at like 7, 7:30, and
Yeah.
then the girls would go in at 9, and then around about 2 o'clock, everyone would be doing their own little bits or joining in with maybe some bits. And then on a Monday and a Wednesday and a Friday, there would be a coached session. So 1 o'clock on them days, everybody would be in the gym doing the same session. Like it might be like weightlifting on a Monday, like barbell cycling in a workout on Wednesday, and then gymnastic skills on a Friday. Like, and it would just be like school, really. It'd be like college. Like you'd go in and you would do your session, session together, kind of thing. But we took a step back from that leading into the open, so everybody could focus on what they were doing. So right now it's just, emotions are high because everyone's in the season. So
So before the 2021 season, how many hours of training would you do a day, and then compare that to what you're doing now, like volume, intensity?
Oh god. Right now I always say that being in season is the easiest part. You've just got to perform, because off season is where you put the work in. We would be in the gym. It's basically like a 9 to 5 job now that we got that facility. We will come home if we need to eat, go back. It's more for me because I've got the dog. I share the dog with my ex-partner, so I have him for like 6 weeks at a time. So when I got the dog, I've got to like come home, take him out, and then go back. But if that's not the case, obviously I just take my food to the gym. So yeah.
And then how much food are you eating a day? Because it must be.
Yeah, so I've got a food sponsor at the minute called Muscle Prep, and they give me 2 meals a day, 7 days a week. So it's amazing. It's amazing. I only have to cook breakfast and evening meal. So.
And then, so you're now living with Reggie. How does that work? So when I like do a hard session, and it will be nothing compared to what you do, I'm knackered. I don't want to do anything afterwards, and I'm probably just a bit of a pain to be around. How do you deal with both being exhausted, both having to sort your stuff out for the next day, being around each other training? How does it work for you guys?
I think we found a pretty comfortable routine now. And don't get me wrong, we still get argue with each other like at least maybe once a day over something little. But it'll be over something stupid like, why haven't you peeled my eggs? Or like, why are the eggs overcooked? I could have done that better. Like just little tiny things which doesn't mean anything. But we got a pretty good routine where like we'll know what time we go into the gym the next day. We'll know what session we're doing. We'll just know our day, so we understand each other a lot better. And he's now got Steve's now his coach as well. So it kind of like sticks a little bit better as well.
Yeah, and I also guess that you guys know more than anyone what you're going through. Like if he's feeling a bit down after a session or after an event, then you're the person that's going to know 100% what he's going through.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see, we were speaking about this yesterday, where if we both end up going to different semi-finals, and if someone gets that ticket first, like how that second person is going to be like, I wouldn't call it jealousy, but it would definitely be hurt if somebody else got the ticket and somebody else didn't. So we hold each other accountable for like being to like wanting to achieve that as well, which is cool.
Yeah, so in Wannapalooza you placed a little bit higher than he did. Were you like, loser?
We have like we do banter about it sometimes, where like on the quarterfinals workouts, he was just like, you're going first. And I'm just like, no, I finished higher in the last competition, so that means you're going first. Or like, yeah, it's just we're not
That's
malicious about it, but
no.
and he's so supportive.
Yeah,
Like after I won that barbell event in Modapalooza, he was like so he was more happy than I was. Like he was buzzing for me.
yeah. It was really funny because my dog's called Reggie, and, we were watching Wodapalooza, and I think it was, like, the thruster chest bar echo bike. We're like, "Come on, Reggie," and my dog was just going mental watching it. It was
It's
so fun.
funny because we've been on a few walks lately, and like people have had dogs, and they've obviously been called Reggie, and they're shouting Reggie. He's just like looking around. It must be like a popular name at the minute.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So what's your, like, why? What drives you to train all the time? What drives you to want to go to the Commonwealth Games or the CrossFit Games?
I don't. It's just that you want it. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I would have sacrificed everything in my entire life towards one goal if I didn't really want it.
Mm,
It's hard to say because you don't know how that feeling feels, but
yeah.
you kind of have an idea how it's going to feel. It's going to feel pretty good
Yeah.
when you get that ticket to the games.
Yeah.
Um, and I just love it. I just love like having this opportunity to live somewhere, train somewhere, be sponsored by
Mhm.
some amazing brands, and be paid to do it. Like not many. You can't. That opportunity doesn't come around for many people.
Yeah.
So
Do you
it's pretty special.
How often do you, like, think about that moment, being in the semi-finals, they announce your name that you're going?
Like I try not to think about the outcome as
Yeah.
much, but I know I would be just I would just be a mess. I would just be like I don't even think I'd be able to speak. But like I focused a lot on that last year,
Mm,
and I was focusing more on the outcome rather than like the process of
yeah.
one workout at a time, like one job at a time,
Mhm.
and it really, really, really came back and bit me in the ass. So right now even though like it enters my head, and sometimes like you catch yourself like smiling because like you're thinking about that moment, and you're like, no, you gotta come back and like think about the process right now
Yeah.
and not the outcome.
Yeah.
You've just got to keep yourself grounded all the time.
Yeah, well, I guess the only thing that you can control is your effort going into each session and each piece of recovery and each warm-up every day leading
Yeah,
up to it, and
yeah.
then, I'm sure it will pay off for you. So final question, what advice would you give to a young athlete who wants to get into CrossFit, who sees what you and Reg are doing and thinks, "All right, I want a bit of that." What would you say to them?
I literally just got in, like again, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like you just gotta have fun, have the right people around you, and just enjoy it. And if an opportunity comes up where you've got the chance to go and train with the best athletes and
Mhm.
live the athlete life, like you've got to take it. Like you've got to just make them sacrifices, and it is definitely worth it in the end.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
good stuff.
yeah,
Well, all the best for the semi-finals, and I
thank
can't wait
you.
to watch it. Hopefully, it's in London.
Yeah, hopefully.